Hello students, today we will discuss about Dr. Johnson's contribution to art of biography. First है the first English biographer. The first great English biographer यानी Johnson is one of the greatest biographers of England, and his fame as a biographer rests on his lives of the poets. The Lives of the Poets is not only the most popular book of the kind in the language. Poet is not only the most popular book of the kind. No short lives have ever equaled them. Nicholson claims that the doctor was the founder of the art of biography in England. He was the first man of letters deliberately to isolate and exploit this art. He regarded biography to stand midway between the falsehood of fiction and the useless truth of history. He considered truth, uncompromising truth, to be the aim of biography, and had no sympathy with those who think it an act of piety to hide the faults and failings of their friends, even when they can no longer suffer by their detections. First, his qualification for the task. The various qualities of head and heart with which Johnson was gifted eminently fitted him for the task of a biographer and contributed so much of the success of his lives. The more important of these qualities may be listed as follows. In the case of the life of Savage, his knowledge was derived from close personal intimacy, and in the case of the various lives of the poets, he had unrevealed knowledge of the literary history of England since the Restoration up to his own day. This knowledge was derived from books, from tradition, and from the talk of those who had personally known the life concerned. He had a genius for detail. He knew that the individuality of a portrait is a matter of detail. Consequently, he tasked points to record every detail that he can collect about the poets, the clothes of Milton or the chair of Dryden occupied. These things and 100 like them make Johnson's little biographies among the most vivid in the world. He tried to represent the poets as they were and did not consider looks or their daily habits or personal peculiarities as things to rival for the dignity of biography. It was through such intimate details that he could make new things familiar and familiar things new. The art of biography is that of giving life to the dead. Only the living can give life to others, and Johnson was living and energetic than others. Therefore, the dead ones of the past come to life in his hands, and it is a living man whom we meet in his space. He had an instinct for holding on the elemental and the permanent in the life and character, and hence the human interest and universal appeal of his biography. He made no attempt, says forth, to idealize the men whose life he wrote, and neither concealed their fallings nor palliated their follies. His portraits may be sometimes tinged with prejudices, but he always presents us with real men and not with conventional figure. He is constantly and painfully striving to rise above his prejudices to tell us the truth, and more often than not he succeeds in doing so. Next, the original plan of the lives. All these qualifications and many more of the biographer combined to make the lives of the poet a great monument and landmark in English literature. This immense success and popularity is all the more surprising when we remember that this memorable work was not initiated or planned by Johnson himself, He did not have a free hand in the choice of the poets with whom he had to deal. Some booksellers to London wanted to bring out an edition of the English poet from Cowley downwards, and they approached Johnson to write short biographical sketches. To each of these poets selected 48 poets were included in their list, and to these Johnson added 4 names more. He had originally planned to give each life a few dates and a general character, but the work swelled in his hands and became the longest and the most memorable of his works. Next, it defects. Because Johnson did not have a free hand in the choice of poets, the life suffered from one serious drawback. They deal largely with poets in whom nobody now takes an interest. In its 3 volumes, Johnson gives us biographical and critical studies of 52 poets. Of these, only 6 are now considered of first rate importance. The 30 or more that remain are dozen are of second rate importance. The 30 or more that remain are mostly poets of whom the ordinary reader of today has never read, and if he is wise will never read a single line. Great part of the book, therefore, a criticism not only upon the unimportant but upon what, so far as we are now concerned, may be called the non-existent. Next, the critical part, its inferiority. Another shortcoming of the work arises from the alleged inferiority of its critical portions. Johnson's criticism of poetry is often marred by his prejudices, often extra literary and personal dogmatism and incapacity. Music and imagination are the most essential qualities of poetry, and Johnson had no ear, and he had no imagination. Indeed, such higher qualities sometimes irritated his prejudices. His opinion of Lycidas is well known. He found it easy, vulgar, and therefore disgusting. Of the songs in Comus, he remarks they are harsh in their diction and not very musical in their numbers. He remains blind to the passionate intensity of Donne and elevation of Gray. As a matter of fact, in his critical doctrines stands for a traditional which is patently out of date. He may never stands for a tradition which is patently out of date. Next, as depository of truth and wisdom. The Lives is a matchless repository of truth and wisdom. The various lives are crowded with God's good saying. We quote only a few examples to illustrate the point. Men have been wise in different moods, but they have always laughed in the same way. What is fit for everything can fit nothing well. Tediousness is the most fatal of all faults. Each one of his sayings is loaded with meaning. They are thought-provoking and suggest rich themes for a friendly debate. Indeed, as Lilly points out, the life shows at its best his power of putting into a single sentence all that can profitably be said on a single subject, whether by way of summary or of comment. His strong common sense is to be noticed in all his saying. Sometimes he takes an almost mischievous delight in judging poetical situations by the standard of common sense and daily practice. Next, the charm of Johnson's personality. The lives share the charm of Johnson's personality. The boundaries in the personal reminiscence and reflect light at many points on the doctor's own character and career. Boswell has done a great service to the cause of literature. He has immortalized the great dictator, and his pages we meet him as he really was, living and actual. But in Boswell's biography, the shadow of the writer is falling across The page is everything stinged more or less by his hero worship, and Johnson tends to grow a bit distant and remote. But in the lives we get him without Oswald, he often talks to his readers intimately and confidently as one friend to another. He was a delightful conversationalist, and while reading the work, the reader partakes some of the pleasures of his talk. Johnson has been vigorously accused of prejudice and unfairness to certain English poets. It is true that he does not offer unmixed praise to any of the poets. He was constantly balancing merits and demerits and avoiding praise or blame accordingly, but he does not stop at this. He sets himself to show the region of things by a process of detailed criticism and analysis, so that his book is more than history, it is a philosophy of letters. The Life of Savage series releases apology for the poetic temperament, the trust, and the most human apology that has ever been written or conceived. At every step, the life of Savage reveals the greatness of his temper, his extraordinary generosity, and his shrewd understanding of ordinary human situations. Throughout the treatment, he is sympathetic and tolerant and bears out the remark that the doctor had a splendid enthusiasm for bad characters and could penetrate to the essential good that lies at the core of such natures. Okay, thank you for watching.